This is the Mariners POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Seattle Mariners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, just imagine me with a top hat and a British accent in the Harry Potter universe. He's back. He's back. Because George Kirby is back, ladies and gentlemen. That it's officially marks the beginning of his season. This is his first. This is his first start in my book. Sure. I just kind of throw the other three out there. Like
what other three?
Yeah, exactly. Mariners avoid the sweep, end a 5-game losing streak. George Kirby might have had the best start of any Mariner this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think of a better start besides the Houston game in the ALDS that George Kirby has had.
I don't think there is one.
I can't think of one right now because he was absolutely dominant. That was vintage George Kirby. Command, just dotting his everything. Man, I think it was the Taylor Ward strikeout in the 7th inning where he comes back with the 2-seamer backdoor. Are you kidding me? That is vintage George Kirby right there. Just vintage. And boy, did we need it. And I kind of forgot what an ace starting performance looked like. And boy, did he show it today. Yeah, we did talk about it yesterday. Hey, so 2 days ago, we talked about needing to see more from Cole Young. And then he has a good day yesterday. And then yesterday, we said, all right, we need a kind of an ace-like performance. And then we get it today. We should just say, hey, you know what we need? A 69-game winning streak.
I need Ana de Armas to move to Shelton, Washington. Like, if we're just going on a heater, like, why not go on a real heater? No, this was fun, and this is Anders. You know, I've been recapping Seattle Mariner games for the last 3 years. This is the best part about daily recaps because it doesn't erase the fact that the Mariners went 1-5 over their last 6. It doesn't erase the fact that they are playing catch up in the division. It doesn't erase that. Still some players who aren't performing up to their best of their abilities. No, we just get to appreciate this one game. And this one game was an awesome game. It was a game that featured great pitching. It featured timely hits. It featured outstanding defense. It featured your closer looking like your closer.
Yes.
It featured everything. And that's the best part about doing these daily recaps. The worst part is that we have to, you know what, and moan when they lose a game when they're playing really well too. Like we don't get to do the, shucks, we just have to react to what we see every single game. And it's a lot of fun, but it's especially fun on days like today, where we can just flat out ignore what happened over the weekend, what happened in Seattle against Baltimore. And we can just focus on today. And today was awesome. Oh, real quick. I told you I was going to give my stat. This is the big one, guys. The Mariners are 2-0 when Cal Raleigh doesn't start. Is he an albatross? Do we need to trade him? I'd be looking to move him for, a couple prospects, just restart everything.
Yeah, I mean, not my MVP. If you win games when he's not playing,
hashtag not my MVP.
Hashtag not my MVP. Guys, it's a joke.
Yes.
It's a joke.
Maybe.
Please do not clip this and put it all over the internet saying, oh my God, they hate Cal Raleigh. They're haters.
No. If you guys are going to clip me, wait till I'm wearing a hat. By the way, no hat today because it is just too dang hot. It is 88, but feels like 103 right now. It's muggy. The whole reason I moved back here was so we could avoid days like this.
Yes.
And now they're a constant part of my life. Thank you, Mariners, for making it a little bit okay. Your boy's HVAC doesn't work right now. And so he is just struggling. And he's struggling because he's talking in the third person. When Chris Robert is struggling, he starts talking in the third person. Oh, and he's struggling. But George Kirby sure didn't.
No, he did not. Owen, yes, we did need this. We really did. Like, oh my God, I can't tell you how relieving it is to talk about a winning baseball game. And this is the formula for Mariners baseball.
Yeah.
Lead starting pitching. They had 11 hits today. The offense should not go overlooked.
No.
In a day again where Cal Raleigh doesn't play. So having other guys step up is going to be a huge part of the rest of the season as we start to move forward. So I mean, let's just talk about George Kirby's start.
Sure.
Like what can you say? He had one bad pitch the entire day, one bad pitch. And he gets tatered for it. Like Taylor Ward He'll hit those. He'll hit mistake pitches. As you said a couple days ago, he's one of the hottest guys when he's hot, and he's not when he's not.
Okay,
So,
but
but everything else, man, like his stuff looked elite. Like 96, 97 in the 7th inning. Just complete command. Complete command. He was throwing it exactly where Mitch Garver was showing it today.
I like this call right here from my buddy Zachary that George Kirby will throw a perfect game at one point in his career. Okay. I'll be kind of stunned if he doesn't. I will be kind of stunned if he doesn't throw. And look, that is insane to say because it's so hard.
The last one was 2012. I'm not counting Domingo Germán. I'm just not.
Totally fine with not counting it because of the pitcher and because of the person. We do not have to count Domingo.
And the team he was playing against, that was against the worst A's team, right? Ever?
It's fair.
Yeah,
that is totally fair. It's very hard, but like George Kirby had perfect game stuff in command today. He really did. Minus, I believe he walks the hitter before the home run. I could be wrong.
Yes, he
that.
does. No.
Okay.
I think it was a single. It was a single.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, puts a guy on and then just leaves a pitch right down the middle of the plate. And I'll be honest, just the way things are going, my first thought was, oh my God, they're going to lose this game. Yeah. This game where George Kirby is pitching.
Because that took the lead at that point. It was 2-1.
Yep. It was 2-1.
Yeah.
And thank goodness it doesn't, because you could talk about wins and losses being an overrated stat for the pitcher. It's not an overrated start for a ball club. It's not an overrated stat for a ball club whatsoever. It's the ultimate goal. Obvious point is obvious. Losing today would have been devastating. So behind the scenes, I was not supposed to do this video, but stuff got changed around. If we would have lost, I would have stuck with it. And I would have just said, Anders, we were already planning on you going solo.
Yeah, thanks. I would have really appreciated that.
Oh, you're very welcome. I am not a very great person. I'm an okay person sometimes, but there are some real petty. I listen to a lot of rap battle. That's why I'm a petty person.
Great.
But to be able to get that W and not waste that, I'll be honest too. I had no idea he had 14 strikeouts. And that is the ultimate compliment to how efficient George Kirby was today. Because, you take a look at the pitch count in the corner, every once in a while I'm, watching the game and getting ready for some stuff. And like, oh, okay, he's at like 84, and he's only given up those 2 runs. And then you take a look at the box score and you see 14 strikeouts. He was dominant. The big thing for me today, I thought Kirby's stuff looked fine in the other couple of starts. The stuff looked fine. The command wasn't there. The control was okay, but the command was not there. Oh, the command was good today. In particular, he was dotting that 2-seamer to the outside corner to left-handers and in on right-handers. He just dotted that corner. If he pitches like he does today, and I'm not asking for it every start, obviously,
right?
The Seattle Mariners may have a new ace because that's how good he was today. And we can only talk about today. That was special stuff, man. That was special. And it comes right on the heel of me talking about the Mariners not getting those, even though their starting pitching is far from the problem with this roster right now, not getting those ace-like performances. Folks, he struck out more than any pitcher in the American League this year today.
Yeah.
Any pitcher in the American League. Only my buddy RJ Anderson calls him the murder hornet. Max Meyer is the only guy who has struck out 14 until today. This was special. This was special command, special stuff. Some good defense behind him too. We can talk about that. But for the most part, it was just George Kirby willing this team to a win. And let me point this out real quick. Anybody who doubts the competitive nature of George Kirby after watching this one should just shut the heck up for the rest of their lives. Because if you don't think George Kirby took it personally, how he pitched, and if you don't think George Kirby isn't aware of what people were saying about those first 3 starts, is George Kirby ever going to get back? Oh, George Kirby's back, guys. George Kirby's back for real.
He's back, and he's back in Voldemort fashion, because he's coming for he's the Grim Reaper. He's coming for everyone at this point. So, no, he was special today. So fun to watch. It was crazy to kind of think like, wait, this is what an elite starting pitching performance looks like, because it really had been a while. Like, you've had some good ones from Castillo.
Oh, sure.
Woo's been good for the most part of the year, but it always is like Brian Wu will give you that B+, A- start, where he gets through 6.
A lot of 6-inning, 2-run starts.
2-run,
No question about
exactly. He never just mows through a lineup, and like that's good. You need that in your starting pitcher. But like George, man, this is how special he can be. We saw it during the playoffs in 22. We saw it most of the year in 23. He struggled a little bit. I'm gonna kind of spoil it a little bit here. We saw it a little bit in 24. And do you remember what the change was in making him kind of switch to being the George Kirby we know and love last year?
Remind me.
It was when Mitch Garver started catching for him. It was a really weird shift. And that was like the one day every 5 days that Mitch Garver would be in the lineup. And that's when George Kirby looked good again. And you know what happened again today?
Yeah.
Mitch Garver was catching for him. So
sure.
I'm gonna go ahead and say my unsung hero right now before we get to talking about some game time. It's Mitch Garver. I don't know if there's any sort of correlation. I don't know if there's any sort of causation. I don't know if that's the reason why George Kirby is as good as he was today, but he called a good game. That's all I know. He called a great game, and there seems to be some sort of chemistry when George Kirby pitches to Mitch Garver, and that battery just works. It just works.
Yep. It certainly worked today. There's no question about it. I also want to talk about something with Mitch Garver offensively today, too, that really encouraged me in the 9th inning on a strikeout, which is weird.
Okay.
I finally saw Mitch Garver swing like Mitch Garver normally swings. There have been such defensive hacks from Mitch Garver over the past 3 weeks, maybe full month, most of the year, maybe even. I'm just trying to remember the last time I saw Mitch Garver actually rip at a baseball. And there's a reason Jose Fermin is a favorite of a lot of scouts. That guy's stuff is electric. Command isn't very good, but that guy can pitch. He took aggressive swings against him, and that was very encouraging to see. It wasn't just trying to foul pitches off. It wasn't going up looking for a walk. It was going up there and looking like he is trying to hit the ball with authority over the fence, into the gaps, whatever you have. I think that's a really good call on George Kirby, or George Kirby is not unsung. It's a really good call on Mitch Garver being the unsung hero.
Appreciate that. I get those every once in a while. We'll get a chance to get your guys' unsung hero, the chat's unsung hero. I wish we could do like a poll for like unsung heroes, maybe to throw a couple guys up there, and then maybe that's something we explore during the future of the Mariners postcast.
Come on, Locked On.
I want to hear Chris Crawford's as well, but first I got to talk to you guys about some game time. Have you ever decided last minute to head to the ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible.
Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Now, that last part's important. You know, I want to make sure that what I'm buying, I'm actually getting.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that, like, sometimes I do like to be a little bit spontaneous. The fact that I can go on Game Time and say, hey, I haven't been to a Mariner game in a while. I haven't gone to a Seahawk game in a while. I haven't been to a Kraken game in a while. The fact that I can use Game Time to be spontaneous and not having to worry to pay some other fees for that type of stuff, the fact that the price actually gets cheaper as I get more and more spontaneous is pretty darn awesome.
Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guarantee. As in Charles Barkley, guarantee. And now we'll talk about some wonderful pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios.
Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you feel longer, keep you feeling fuller longer. You know what? I'm weak right now. I'm weak because it's super hot, and it's because I haven't had any pistachios. And I know that if I had some pistachios right now, I would be better at doing these ad reads, even though I've read this thousands upon thousands of times. Okay, that's not true, but pretty darn close. You'd think I'd have it memorized. But if I ate more pistachios, I think my memory would go up. Plus, I'd feel better because pistachios are just so gosh dang delicious.
They are very delicious. So get snackin' and get crackin' with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, super quick, because I know, Chris, you got to get out of here. Let's talk a little bit about the offense just for a couple minutes here, because they should not go unnoticed. It's a day where your MVP candidate isn't playing. I was really worried that Julio wouldn't play, but he ends up being able to go out there today somehow. And once again, we see the difference in center field and what he brings defensively. So key to the Mariners moving forward, and, helped out George Kirby a couple times there as well. But the two guys I want to chat about are Randy and Jorge Polanco, because I think those are two guys that have a track record of showing that they can be good players at the major league level, especially offensively. And if this lineup is going to be what we hope this lineup is going to be, and if we're going to be a playoff team moving forward, those two guys have to go. Randy with his second 3-hit game in a row. And then Jorge Polanco from the right side of the plate gets a 2-hit game, including the game-tying RBI. So Randy gets an RBI as well and a run scored. So two guys that I really want to highlight today. What did you see either from them or the rest of the offense, Chris Crawford?
It was just great to see Randy Arozarena drive the baseball. And like a couple of those balls, I think, leave other parks. I didn't see the actual savant stats on him. I also love that the single that he hits, on a ball that I think he thought was going to get out. I love that when he didn't pimp it, but, maybe wasn't quite running it out because I think he got a dinger. I love that he said, no, I'm getting to second base, and stole second base after that hit. And it ended up being huge. It ended up being a massive play. Stolen bases are just so important in today's day, but it was great. And I saw Polanco get under a baseball today, even with the 2 hits. That's the most I've seen him drive a baseball in a while. It's nice to see him starting to feel confident. And I think you have to give some credit to Dan Wilson here that, we've been kind of saying that Polanco needs to go on the injured list and stuff like that. And I don't think we're wrong. But what I will say is if he's not on the injured list, it doesn't make sense to have him on the bench. He needs to play every day to get into that routine. And I think the last couple of games, you're starting to see him feel a little more comfortable with the routine. And this is just me guessing what I'm seeing there because I'm not in Jorge Polanco's mind. It would be the worst being John Malkovich sequel possible if I was being Jorge Polanco and Jorge Polanco had to deal with my crap. But I just kind of feel like he feels much more comfortable at the plate. Real quick on Julio, you did not have a good offensive game whatsoever. 0 for 5 with a strikeout. Just great to see him in the lineup. After that looked bad. That looked like a bad injury. And I think he did have a really key moment in that game. Now, he grounds out very weakly on a pitch he should have clobbered in the first inning. I don't think any other Seattle Mariner scores on that Randy Arozarena double.
That's a good point.
I don't think any other player scores, and that's just what his athleticism can do. It also can frustrate you because, gosh, apply these gifts a little bit more consistently, and you could be as good as any player in baseball. But at the very least, what he's giving you defensively, and then we just kind of underrate the scoring from first base on plays like that. That's massive. That is massive because how are you feeling if that Randy double puts Julio at third? And all due respect to Mitch Garver and Polanco, are you feeling super confident about those guys coming up in that situation? Absolutely not. No. So, by the way, great game today from Donovan Solano. Great game today. He has the hit by pitch. He gets that big single in a massive moment, massive moment, basically guarantees that George Kirby's start won't go wasted. So shout out to Donovan Solano. I get it. I still probably wouldn't have him on the roster at this point, especially with Harry Ford just tearing up triple.
That was the third RBI on the season. Third RBI. Three.
And if you want to talk about how maybe that has something to do with the chances he's had,
Sure.
But there's no denying that Donovan Solano has been terrible. But Donovan Solano today deserves a ton of credit, and I would consider making him my unsung hero, but it's Ben Williamson,
Okay.
baby. It's always going to be Ben Williamson.
Commit to the bit, baby.
You know
Let's
what?
go.
I will have one of these days where he goes 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts, and it'll actually make people mad. But I legitimately think he actually might be the unsung hero from this one. The 2 hits, his defense is just like that's. I don't want to go too hyperbolic because it's not Adrian Beltre. Adrian Beltre is still the best defensive player at third base that the Seattle Mariners have ever had. It's better than Kyle Seager. His defense is better.
That's
than
saying
Kyle
a lot.
Seager.
Kyle Seager was a really good defensive third baseman.
Ton about him. It is saying so much. But also, you see that double. You see that he's driving that ball into the gap.
That was the big thing for me. That looked like he's getting the ball in the air, similar to what we said about Polanco. Like he's starting to drive it a little bit.
Exactly. And
it got all the way to the wall. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing for me is, if you take a look now, I haven't checked it in a couple of days. The hard hit percentage for Ben Williamson is fine. Hard hit percentage means jack crap if it's just ground balls.
Exactly.
If it's just a bunch of ground balls, it means nothing. But if you can put those balls into the gap, as Godspeed puts here, Bennett Saul's at third base. It's great. If you get some slugging going, we got something going here. Somebody pointed out he's basically less power David Bell. And you're too young to remember David Bell, but David Bell was a really solid player and was a huge part of 2001, which we promise we'll only mention like 3 times on this show. Root Sports might mention it 163,000 times, but we're only going to mention it 3. We got 2 more. Let's save them for later. If you can get that type of production from him, if you get 20 grade power David Bell, you're going to be fine at third base. Yeah. You are going to be just fine because the outs he's taking away on top of not being a pitcher batting is worth it to me. I wish that you could do better. You know, I wish that Jorge Polanco was a third baseman. I wish Ben Williamson was in Tacoma and working on some stuff, but he's helping the Seattle Mariners a lot more than hurting them, in my humble estimation.
I agree with that total encapsulation. Like, yes, you could be getting more from the third base position, but he is not hurting your team at this point by being in the lineup. And I stand by it. Like, if he's your 8th or 9th best hitter, that's great. That is a great person to have where you are getting elite defense, but he's not your 8th or 9th best hitter right now. So
I love that comment so much.
Okay. My unsung hero decision tends to be based on who did more sneaky, important contributions than Williamson. Nobody again? Ben Williamson, obviously. Is that what goes on in your head, Chris Crawford?
Yes. And real quick, shout out to Cole Young for probably his best one of the best offensive games that he's had. So
how about
far.
Best offensive series?
Yeah, for sure. His best offensive series, without question. And look, we talked about whether or not the Mariners have to start talking about sending Cole Young down.
Doesn't mean they have to now.
He struggled at every level to begin. He has struggled at every single one. If this is the best of Cole Young, the Mariners need to look it up at second base. I don't think there's any question about it. But if you get enough of these types of games from Cole Young and he makes the improvement that he's made at every other level later into the season, the Mariners are going to be fine at second base too. Yeah,
completely agree. We're starting to see the young guys, those 8 and 9 hitters, really starting to put it together a little bit, which is great to see. Mariners end the skid, end the 5-game losing streak, avoid the sweep against the Angels. Like, hopefully this turns things around. I really, really hope it does. I hope it's not a blip in the radar. Let's make it matter, guys. That's all I'm going to keep saying. Let's make it matter. Make it matter. Make it matter. Make it matter. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. It's a Sunday. It's a beautiful day out. If you're in Seattle, I'm sure it's a beautiful day in other places as well. I apologize if you heard my dog panting here because it is also very hot as well where I'm at. But really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It's coming around. I think we've seen stuff in the last 2 games. Yeah, yesterday was sloppy. I think a lot of that had to do with the Julio injury and him not being able to go back out in the center field. That changes the entire game. Yeah. Kind of changes the whole series now that we look at it. Because he would have scored on the ground ball anyway. But also, like this is Mariner baseball that we watched today. Elite starting pitching. You're getting hits and good at-bats from up and down the lineup. You're not necessarily going to get MVP-level performances, especially when your MVP candidate is out, taking a rest day. Also, huge that he didn't have to come into the game. Like, so great that they actually gave him a day off. So
he clearly didn't want to play, and I question whether or not he even wants to be here.
Yeah. He got the big contract and said, peace out. Got the contract and said, peace out.
I got 26. I'm done. I'm done. You guys do whatever you want. I'll be back in 2026.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got Diamondbacks tomorrow. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I think it's a 6:40 start time, so we'll be with you right after final pitch. As always, Ty and Colby will have their episode of Locked On Mariners coming out tomorrow. Be sure to look out for that as well. But until then, go Mariners, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.